Hey there, everybody. It's Wayne D. Welcome to the website, WayneD.com. And we're looking at a first-time student. His name's Ben Goldbaum. He's the grandson of a very nice fellow that I member at Boca Rio that I've given a lesson or two to him and his wife. Ben's down visiting from New York. Doesn't belong to a club up there. Lives in Manhattan. So every now and then he gets out to Bethpage and there are different public courses in place, but as you can see, he's got a nice looking action, and he's interested in the swing. So we had a nice time talking about what was going on. So as I watched his swing at the beginning, turns out there were three things that I wanted to accomplish in the hour that we had. So this, because Ben lives in New York, this isn't going to be an ongoing, every week kind of thing. So my goal in these lessons is to, especially if I feel like after talking to him a little bit that he's a smart kid, he wants some information so he can practice the right stuff. It keeps me from getting too involved, but in this case, I wanted to pinpoint some things for him and just educate him a little bit about what I thought would be very helpful. So the first thing that I noticed was the setup. The shaft angle was very, very high up, so I just kind of want him to get a little more away from it and let his arms hang a little bit. So if we watch it go back, you'll watch the right arm really stay tucked in, and he's going to add a lot of cup to the left wrist. So one thing I wanted to do was show him how to neutral that wrist out so the face wouldn't get too open. His grip was okay. We strengthened his right hand just a hair. So that was one thing. And then the second thing was, if you look at the pelvic tilt angle, he does a nice job at address and at the top, and then when he comes down you can really see that the right glute is firing up early, and that's really leveling out that pelvis. So even though his legs are in the box, his pelvis is coming up underneath him. So you can see with that high angle at address, he's going to get his hands, which is a nice thing, back down on the shaft plane. But you can kind of tell going through that there's a throw going on there. So you can see that club flip past him. And now we'll see that from the front. So we can see that the hands are a little weak. They're back away from where the ball line is. And you can see the front of the pelvis is looking more up and to the right. So there's a lot of flipping going on at the bottom. So we want to see if we can get that thing into and past the ball with less flip. Alright, so let's take a look at what we ended up doing here. Let's start with the face on. Now we did quite a few stop and goes, but most of them, and this is not unlikely with someone who hasn't really done this before, that in the forward swing, in starting the downswing and a stop and go, that's mostly rotation. So you can see that movement right there. Nothing coming off the right side. So as we did more of the stop and goes, we were aiming at getting some lateral movement to start. So here's one. I started a little late on the video, but watch the hip movement now. So that's more like it. So that's what we want to see. And then you can also see coming through how much less flippy that looks. We go back to the beginning and take a look. Now eventually, like, the left knee to straighten up a little early so we could get some ground force going, but I'll take this any day in an hour. Now if we go to the down the line, now what we were talking about was the posture, so let's compare the posture here and here. So added a little pelvic tilt at address, a little more bent over. Now watch we talked about how the left wrist was functioning toward the top. That's a beautiful looking position there. And then coming down, the goal was to keep that pelvic tilt a little better. And you can see, even though that's still a little bit on the underside with the right, that's a nice looking, better looking position there. So with the posture being a little more tipped and the feeling that the pelvis stays a little more back and tilted, now the right arm, it's very clear that it has a lot more clearance. So as opposed to starting down and getting that right glute shooting up this way, now we have it back a little deeper, and as he hits it, it's firing not perfectly up and left, but still a lot less up and right than this one. So this one's going to stall the hips right out on the right over here, and this one on the left is going to allow the hips to continue to move fluidly. So big difference in the way the lower body looks there. You can see this one looks jammed up, and this one looks like it's going to go around very nicely. So we've got a more neutral wrist position at the top, and a lot of that was just being aware of how he was adding cup to that and opening the face. The change in the posture, got that backswing a little deeper, and then in the downswing, keeping that pelvic tilt, creating room for the right arm, and adding that lateral movement made it all look better. All right.